So welcome everyone to TechLunch and welcome to Algolia. The theme of our TechLunch today is developer advocacy. And just so you know, there is a hashtag. If you're taking any pictures and posting on Twitter, you can do hashtag TechLunch. So TechLunch is an event that we host here at Algolia every 6 weeks. It used to be once a month, but now it's every 6 weeks. We have 3 lightning talks. And lunch, as you've all discovered. So hope you're enjoying that. Just quickly about Algolia, if anybody hasn't been here before and you don't know what we do, Algolia is a search API. Basically, we make it easy for engineering teams to add very fast and relevant search to their products. So there are over 5,000 companies using Algolia around the world. Companies like Twitch, Medium, Stripe, Birchbox, lots of different types of companies are using Algolia to deliver fast and relevant results to their customers. So today we have, as I said, 3 lightning talks. We're going to hear from Valériane, Laurent, and Noël, 3 developer advocates. And the idea today is to bring a little bit of more awareness to this position, because it's one of the more recent types of developer positions. I won't say much more about it. I'll let the experts tell you in a minute. But before I stop talking, we also want to highlight our job of the day. So we're hiring a lot at Algolia. We have lots of jobs. And one today we want to talk about is our education engineer position. So it's not a developer advocate position, but it has a lot of similarities in the type of person who might be interested in that. So the education engineers at Algolia are busy educating Algolia users on how best to use Algolia. They make video tutorials, they give workshops and trainings. I won't go through all the list of requirements, but you can check it out on our website if that's something that might be interesting to you. And there's lots of other jobs as well if that's not exactly what you're looking for. Okay. So without further ado, we'll have Valériane on stage. If you could give her a warm welcome.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here and happy to wish you a nice lunch. Okay, so the others are going to talk very deeply about what is DevRel in a daily basis. I'm going to talk to you about who needs a DevRel and why not. Okay, so most of the company, I'm sorry, every company that have a product that might be used one day by a developer must be a great candidate to have a DevRel team. You can start having this team before your product is launched, because they're gonna excuse me they are gonna and tell the people about the product you're gonna release is gonna be there. So they will give awareness. That was the word I was looking for. They will give awareness on your product before the product is delivered to the whole world. You can also have your team after your product is released. So basically, what they will do is talk and engage the developer community. About that, they will talk about developers. They will talk about your product, but they are not your salespeople. You don't have to mistake with that, because they can talk about your product. They can advocate it, but they don't have to sell it directly to the people. It's very bad practice, I think, because after that, your developer team will be seen as seller people and not as people that represent your company and your product and the interest of the developers using your product. So what they are not is also they are not your community managers. They are managing your developers community. They are not for the whole community you may be talking with. Also, as your product and your team gets bigger, you might consider hiring not only developer advocates, but also designer advocates and stuff, because as your project gets bigger, you will need to engage with more people, and more people can be interested in what you do. And this might include the UX designers, the right designers, the people who talks about ethics of the company, especially in IT. Ethics is very important. So you don't have to be mistaken with all that. A developer advocate is here to let the people know what is your product. It is here to talk about it, make people believe in it. The developer have to believe in your product. You have to be the face of your product. You don't have to be the face of your sales team. So, in order to do that good, you have to hire people that are, you can take people already from the company, or to hire people that are not in the company but are very interested in your product. They are very, they have to believe in it. They have to do thing. You can't express yourself about something good if you don't believe in that, and you can't talk to people and give them something very inspiring if you're not inspired by what you're doing. And I think that's the most important point. I guess that's it for my pretty quick overview. Do you have any questions, maybe? There is a little box with a mic inside.
If you do have a question, I'll throw you this box gently.
I wanted.
Hi there.
Hi.
You mentioned developer advocate more than one time,
Yes.
but you avoided saying developer evangelist, and I understand that
Yes.
term is much more common. What would you say, are the words synonymous? Are they different?
I'm sorry. Are the words synonymous or different? I think actually in today's words they're very mixed up together, and there maybe is a difference if you take it very deep, but I don't know it, and I think everyone isn't choosing any difference on that.
Any other questions at this point? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this is Laurent, just as a reminder.
Dankeschön. A quick word while I set up the difference between evangelism and developer advocacy, to me, at least. It's kind of a one-way to two-way thing. Where's the full screen button on that thing? Let me see. To me, a developer advocate will go towards developers and towards your product team, whereas an evangelism will be, as the evangelist word says, and if you are very much into religion, an evangelist is one that goes to people and talk to people. It's usually one way. You can really talk with an evangelist. It's I guess the French way to say that would be a difference between a discours and a conversation, which I have no idea how to say, a speech and a conversation, I guess. Developer advocate would have a conversation with you. A developer evangelist would be more into a speech kind of position. So anyway, I'm Laurent Dauguin. I work for Clever Cloud. This talk is called A Personal Path to DevRel. PaaS, Platform as a Service. I work for Clever Cloud. We're a platform as a service. This was a dad joke. Anyway, so yeah, this is me. I'm going to talk mostly about me, so you don't have to see that. But yeah, if you want to buy some beer, I brew beer as well, which is cool. So how did I start doing this? I started out working for a company called Nuxio. That was in 2007, and I was a core developer, an engineer. I was writing code for a living. That was nice. I was sort of the most expensive personality we had in the company. I was one of the few that was okay to give out trainings for the company. I was giving out talks. I was going to pre-sales as well as an engineer, which is something that many people will tell you DevRel are not salespeople. But in reality, in most companies I've been into, I've been always dragged to do many different things like sales. But anyway, life was good. And I was a little bit bored by the product. So I started out talking to marketing people. And I joined the dark side of our job. I joined the marketing team. Before I was engineering, I went to marketing. I was the technical dude at the marketing, so I was working on SEO stuff, content, blogs, giving talks as well. And it sort of started out as a part-time job. And, well, it worked. Was good enough so that it became less of a part-time job, more like a full-time job. And it was nice. And that's how I basically started becoming, the term was community liaison, because community manager at the time was already the guy that answered to people on Twitter and Facebook. But if you look back to the origin of the community manager word, it was mostly targeted about nurturing community. And nurturing is not necessarily just answering to people on Twitter. It's also taking care of your community. It's this the conversation thing. You have to go towards people. You have to give them something because they're giving you something too. So I was a community liaison, and one day I had a call from a British person, a LinkedIn headhunter that tried to get me into Couchbase, which is how I started out my first job as a technical evangelist. That's what was written on my contract. Interesting fact, if you cross the US border and you go to the customs, and after an 11-hour flight, someone tells you, what's your job? Do not answer technical evangelist. It's going to be a long time, which I did, of course, after 11 hours flight. So yeah, I started out working at Couchbase. It was my first job as a proper evangelist. That's what was written on the contract, right? And the good thing is I was working with other evangelists. So I'm not sure what happened to the evangelism side at Nuxio, but I'm not sure they have a team. I'm not sure they're doing anything right now. But at least at Couchbase, there was a proper team, and I met this guy called Matthew Revel. He's the organizer of DevRelCon. If you are interested into DevRel, that's the shameless advertising plug. There's a DevRel conference in London, organized by this guy early November. Just type DevRelCon on Google, and there's a training session. There's an unconference. There's a conference. There's lots of videos on YouTube. So if that's a topic you want really to get into, I advise you to Google DevRelCon. And I started working with Matthew, and it was interesting to me because it became more professional. I never had any boss when I was working at Nuxio. The only thing I could do to get better was, well, you already write 2 blog posts a week. Let's write 3 blog posts a week. That doesn't work like this. I'm not going to talk about content much, but content strategy shouldn't be about only about numbers and quantity. It should be about quality, because developers are absolutely terrible people. I know I'm a developer, and basically every evangelist or developer advocate, however you want to call this, every evangelism efforts towards developers is trying to get a piece of your attention. To do a weird analogy, I don't know if you all know who Etienne Moujat is. He was the boss of TF1, which is the biggest private channel we have on French television. And he said that he was basically selling brain attention time to his advertisers. And what DevRel are doing is basically competing for developers' brain attention time. That's basically all we do. And that's, that if there was one sentence to resume that job, probably this. So I learned how to care to those developers' brain. I learned how to work with other people. And one of the first things we did to me that was really cool is that we had our own single budget, which might sound weird. Actually, that's one of the biggest issues I've seen with most DevRel teams. It's budget, and it's who are you talking to in the higher grades of the company. At Nuxio, I was part of the product team and marketing team. At Couchbase, I was part of engineering. At CleverCloud, I'm basically my own thing, which is great. And there's other company where it can be both. It could be marketing, could be engineering, could be a mix of things. So I was engineering, so I got to talk to a lot of people about the product, and I went more into this developer advocacy thing than evangelism thing, which is each time I go out to conferences, I would get that feedback from developers, and I will give it back to my product team, which was great. When I was working at marketing, it was all about basically butts in seats meaning right now I'm talking to, I don't know, 50 people. I can do a report and say, hey, I've talked to 50 people. That's really enough. Marketing's interested about numbers because that's what your shareholders want to learn about. And the thing is, if you're doing developer relation, if you're doing evangelism, you have no idea how people will remember you. It's really hard. There's many talks about how do you measure your impact as a developer relation person. And to be fair, you don't really do that. I mean, you can try to do it. It's hard. And it's usually not relevant. You cannot go into someone's brain and figure out what they've learned from you, how they remember you. So basically, what I'm trying to say is developer relation is a cost center in every sense of the word, because we are very expensive people. We travel to conferences and everything. We sponsor stuff. So it's a cost center which is really hard to measure. So if one day you go into that job, make sure your CEO is on board with you, because that's probably the most important thing for you. Anyway, that was Couchbase. I did lots of conferences, and I've met the people of CleverCloud, which is CleverCloud. We have shiny T-shirts, and we do platform as a service. We're basically a hosting company. We automate stuff on public and private cloud, but that's not the point. So, what is developer relation exactly? What does it mean? I like this image because I don't know if there's any Devel here. I know there are, and I hope they feel like it's kind of true. So let's see. What my friend think I do. I'm never here. Each time they call, hey, you want to get a drink? I'm not. I'm in Birmingham. I'm taking a plane to Birmingham tomorrow for Acfront. Or I'm in other less fancy place. Like I've been to Clermont-Ferrand and Limoges. But good people, cool people. Anyway, so people think you're always traveling and super glamorous and everything. I mean, it is in the beginning. But it kind of sucks because you never see your friends. You spend your life in plane. Fun fact: the average life of a developer advocate is 9 to 12 months. Because usually people are burnout after a year. So if you want to get into this, just be careful. Now, what my parents think I do, I have no idea what they would think. I'm such a library nerd. I don't know what this picture is supposed to be about, but anyway. What my significant other things I do, and that's the most important thing, if you have a significant other in your life, you will have to explain very carefully what you do and why it's important that you're partying with other people all the time. You're trying to make a connection with other developers. Basically, you're the one that's supposed to buy beer so that people remember you. So alcohol and those social effects of alcohol, or not alcohol, you don't have to. Actually, most of the developers advocate I know basically stop drinking alcohol because there's so many occasions. It's too hard. I'm brewing beer, so I can't really stop. But anyway, what my boss think I do, and that's the most important thing. Again, we burn a lot of cash. And what I think, what I actually do, you can be sure that I will be sleeping in a plane tomorrow morning. Now, about day-to-day activity, I'm not going to go towards everything that I do, and that goes back to the question that Dan asked a while ago, what's different between developer advocacy and developer evangelism? And this guy, Phil Legater, is an amazing developer. He's been doing this for years and years and years. And he pretty much did this thing. And if you tick the right boxes, the developer will tell you if you're more into evangelism or more into developer advocacy. What's important here to remember is that developer is a field, it's not a job. Public speaking is a skill, it's not a job. I mean, some people have a full-time public speaking job, but anyway. It is a field where you can find many different jobs and many different activities. What am I going to do today or tomorrow? Today I'm going to organize a conference. I'm going to play with a fractal tree in CSS and JavaScript and WebSocket, and that's going to be fun. So I'm going to do a little bit of code. I'm going to do wiring. Well, solder ironing. I think that's what I was looking to. We have some nice IoT kit, and I need to, iron a bunch of stuff or solder a bunch of stuff. Those are gifts that we give to conferences because, of course, we want you to remember us. So when we go to conferences, we buy T-shirts. I've become an expert in T-shirts. in buying t-shirts. Like my last order was about 20,000 euros of t-shirts. We buy a lot of t-shirts. If you want some, go to any conferences where Clevercloud is exhibiting, and you'll get a t-shirt. Not this one, because this one is only for the team, because it's shiny and all. And it's way more expensive. So yeah, I'm gonna talk shop with t-shirts makers. I'm going to go to Birmingham tomorrow. I'm going to give a talk. Which is exactly what I'm doing right here. I'm going to help people in this weekend, because sometimes you work over the weekend because your goal is to reach out to developers. And there's this particular breed of developers, these 9-to-5 people that are not available in your working hours. So you have to go at them on the weekend. So I'll be working this weekend and try to help people deploy stuff on Clevercloud. Yeah, a bunch of things. And of course, I've been, as a developer working in a small company, I'm doing marketing, I'm doing sales, I'm basically dragged between every department of the company, because we are usually very curious people, very various profile. We want to do a little bit of everything, and that's pretty much how I ended up doing DevRel, is that I was interested into everything, basically. So most DevRel I know that stopped doing DevRel went on to product marketing. Some went out to starting their own company, because they have this weird mix of skills that allow them to do maybe a little bit of everything. Not expert, not super good at everything, but at least we're average. Like if you do a board game or a fantasy game, basically with the humans, elves and dwarves are very specialized. I'm human, I suck a little bit of everything, but average, that's right. Anyway, that's all I have. If you have any question, please shout in the shouting box.
Questions?
Hi. Do you think it should be a full-time job, or can you be like developer and do a little bit of advocacy on the side?
So should it be a full-time job, or can you do it on the side? It depends. It can be a full-time job, definitely. It depends on which kind of company you're working for. And what I'm trying to do in a very small company is trying to have everyone on board in the company to do a little bit of DevRel. So all our core engineers are going out giving talks. They're all trying to write a little bit of content. I'm just making sure that they don't give out too much talk so that they don't get burned out. I'm just making sure that if they want to go to a conference, they have some swag, they'll be happy to go there, and that they're writing good content. I'm encouraging people in a company to be a DevRel. You're all in your company, representing your company. And so of course, if you want to do that a little more, then if you were working for Clevercloud, I would encourage you to do it, definitely. So yes, it can be a part-time job, absolutely.
Hi, great talk. Sorry, did someone have?
It's all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Great talk. Thanks very much for that. Really interesting. Really fun. Yeah, I think we're actually finding it difficult to do developer events and attract people. Do you have any tips for that? Like, for example, when you try and attract some developers to come to your events,
so
because they're a different breed, huh? Developers, we're dealing with like a different breed here. They're not like normal you and I,
Yeah, it's called developers.
Yeah.
I know that jokes. Developers are divas. So let's say you only have marketing people at your events, and they go to the developer and say, "Hey, do you want to learn everything about this new product? It's going to be amazing." And the guy is giving you a sales speech, and that sucks, and you want to go away, and you never want to talk to these people anymore. And that's the whole issue about marketing and developers, is that developers are quirky individuals that have a quirky sense of humor, and that they will see you coming miles away. So don't try to sell them anything. Try to create a connection. So don't sell any, and I'm sorry for any marketing people here, don't sell any people that work for marketing talk to developers unless they have this developer culture. The interesting things that I had when I was working at Nuxio was he started out as a consultancy company, and they had this culture of developers, and it never grew fast enough that they would lose that culture. So any HR marketing people in Nuxio knew how to talk to developers and knew that trying to sell something is pointless. You need to create a connection. That's the whole thing about developer relation. You need to create a genuine connection. And if they need something, they'll find it. They can use Google and everything, so it's fine. So don't try to sell them anything. Just try to create a connection. If you want more practical tips, or is that all right? Oh, yeah. Cheers.
I'm kind of happy that he went before me because my question sort of builds up on top of it. Is that we're trying to build a culture at our company where we start doing some events as well. But then I want to ask more about the internal perspective. How do you go about convincing the management, for example, in your company, that you need a bigger focus on these events, and basically how do you get them involved in it?
Yes, that's super hard. The whole point is have your CEO on board, because again, you are a cost center. It's going to cost some money at one way or another. So you need to sell this internally. It needs to be really clear that if you're organizing a meetup, your marketing people won't ask every person's email address, all this kind of stuff. So you need to sell this internally. Now, how would you sell this internally? Again, really hard. Completely depends on which kind of company you're working for. I've only been working for software vendor, so it was kind of easy for me because it makes sense. Our users were developer. Developers are users like any other user, so you need to take care of them. He understood that, and he knew that being a developer himself, that would work out. When I was working for Catchbase, it was a little bit different. The CEO was a salesperson more than a technical person. So we had to provide numbers all the time to them. Well, this is why you're costing you so much money, is that we've talked to that many people and we've published that many blogs. And then it was a database company, so there was a website called DP Engine, and it was a ranking of all the databases. Look, because of all the work we did, we moved one rank up, which never really knew if it was us or marketing or both. So hard to measure again. But yeah, the hardest thing is trying to sell this internally, and there's no advice except to convince them that it's useful, and yeah, that's hard.
When are hackathons a good idea?
I genuinely hate hackathon. As a very leftist person, I think that making people work for free on a weekend sucks. But if that's your thing, then you should have people to help you do it. I think everybody's that goes to hackathon are grown-ups, and if that's what they want to do, sure, and let's help them. And so that's what I'm going to do over this weekend. I'm going to go to that hackathon, talk to all those people, and have them deploy their software on Clever Cloud. If I've never been a big fan of hackathon professionally, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of money for pretty much low numbers. But the good thing about hackathon is that those low numbers are very engaged. You created a good relationship. You've basically spent a weekend with them, and yes, of course they will remember you, and that's a good thing. So if you work for a big company that wants to see numbers, it's probably not a good idea. If you work for a small company like Clever Cloud that wants people to genuinely get into it and deploy stuff, just to slowly grow your user base, it's probably better.
We have time for one more question. I saw him first, but we have the same theme after.
I'll be around until 2 p.m., so that's fine.
And that too.
So I'm available for consultancies.
Hey. Hi. Thanks for the talk. My question is, what is the most efficient way for advocacy? Is it by giving talks, meetups, or posting some articles on your blog, or maybe Medium, something like this?
Okay, so giving out talks doesn't scale. Let's be very clear about this. And you will burn out so fast, and you will go. So, but at the same time, you're going to say you can record talks through that. There's no magical recipe. I think if there was one, the world would be amazing, because you will all get to your brain's attention, and you will be able to print all our messaging to you. It doesn't work like this. So right now, the biggest companies that I as developer advocates are Microsoft or Google or basically anyone selling cloud. Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. And they're all about visibility numbers. Numbers. They want a big team. They want all their employees to have a huge follow-up on Twitter. They want to basically have all these people be a porte-voix. Comment on dit porte-voix en anglais? Anyone? Porte-voix en anglais? Sorry? Spokespeople? Yeah. They want huge spokespeople. They want to have huge. Basically, it's called I would call that transversal developer advocacy. Is that the most people you can reach to, the more people you can recruit in your community, and the more people you're gonna have, the more efficiency you're gonna have. Now, from a technical support point of view, is it talks, is it blogs? I mean, I'm absolutely terrible at writing some sort of blogs. I give average talks. Some people give amazing talks. Our best speaker is a core engineer at Clever Cloud, and so I cannot take him out at every conferences. So it really depends on your skill level and what you want to do, I guess. Everything works. It's mostly a scale issue. Don't burn out by giving out talks everywhere, even if it's cool. Try to build up more followers. That's how big companies do it most of the time.
So we do have time.
Please follow me on Twitter.
Well, we do have time for more questions. If you want to ask your question now. Okay.
What could you say about the culture of DevRel in France, and what do you think about it?
Interesting question. So as we said in the beginning, DevRel is very much of it's not so new anymore, let's be honest. It's still sort of new, especially in France and in Europe. It's a lot less new especially in Europe, a lot less new in the US. It's more of a developer culture thing than an evangelism culture to me. In Europe, people are used to go to conferences. There's an insane amount of conference in Europe compared to the US. I think one of the reasons is people want to have conference in their native language. Actually, I had a talk about this with a former colleague of mine yesterday. She told me that DevOps France for us was for them was a super interesting conference compared to other UK conferences. The thing about DevOps France is that most of the talks are in French, so you will reach out to many developers. And there's like one big French conference, and all the big players in every O'Reilly conf, they would never do any conference in Paris. They always do it in London, and that gives you. It's harder to compete for people's brain in London because there's so many things. In France, maybe a little bit easier. I just started thinking about it yesterday. I think that's one of the issue. And then, as developers, how many of us are 9-to-5ers or crazy people who want to go to meetups and work over the weekend and do all these efforts to learn more? And it's I genuinely don't know enough outside of Europe to tell you how it would work there. I know that in France, if you want to reach out to people, one thing that really works out is TechLunch. I think some people understood that. Or prawn bag lunches. To me, that's the hardest part. I'm in the classic conference circuit, so I will give talks to conferences, and most developers actually cannot justify getting a day off to go to a conference. I mean, usually they have to take a day off to go to a conference, which sucks. You should be able, as a developer, to at least go to 1 or 2 conferences a year to keep on learning things, because if you're doing that job, then that means you're okay to be at school for the rest of your life. That's pretty much what it is. So you need to do tech lunches, you need to do BBL, you need to maybe do breakfast, I don't know, maybe meet up. I'm still trying to figure this out. There's 2 very well-known evangelists that I tried to get here today that were both unavailable because they were either giving talk to conferences or giving another tech lunch. If you know Elasticsearch, you all know David Pilato. He's doing an insane number of TechLunch, and it works. So yeah, try to do more dedicated events. Usually works. That's how pretty much how Docker became so successful. They did an insane number of meetups and TechLunch in the beginning in the US, and it really worked out. So I guess it's more who are you talking to in the developer demography than in which country, to me. So that works.
Any more questions? All good? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There you go. I can use the catch box. So just a quick announcement before or while Noel is getting set up. There's a lot of food left over, I think, desserts and maybe some sandwiches too. So if you want to have a second sandwich or grab dessert now or on your way out, please help yourself. And I think he's almost ready. So actually, maybe wait 30 seconds because a lot of people are still hungry.
I have the time to set up my computer. It's okay. Perfect.
Yeah, there he is. And you're not typing much, right? You can, because we do have a, yeah.
I use my remote. Right?
Oh, okay.
Because I like working.
Okay, yeah. The camera is there, yeah.
Static.
Yeah, somewhat,
So
yeah.
Sur microphone. Non, c'est bon, c'est bon. Je vais expliquer justement. Attends, hop, tac, voilà, parce que j'aime pas.
Tu préfères le à la main en fait?
En fait, non, c'est généralement je préfère le micro-cravate parce que je j'utilise ma télécommande et que je marche sur la scène, tu vois, pour donner un petit peu. Et là, on est statique, donc je vais être comme ça, avec le micro, ce sera très bien.
Ok, bah, tu lui passeras du coup? Yeah. So I turned it on now. Okay. Okay. Okay, settle down, you crazy hungry people. That was a good little break. And give a warm welcome to Noel. This is the final talk, okay?
Hi, everyone. So, I know I have to stay here. I'm Noël Massé. Difficult name to pronounce for an English person. So it's not Mackay or Mace, even if Mace, if the kind of metalhead, it's okay for me. So we're asked to speak about mainly myself. So first, I thought about naming this talk that up full screen is better. Yeah. So I thought about naming this talk Me, Myself, I, and Some Avocado. Of course, an avocado is better. Why avocado? You can search online Sarah Vieira, who is a developer Advocado, of course, and a meme. You can check it out online. Did a mistake and confuse the two words between avocado, the fruit, and advocate. So it's day now, and we like to talk about developer avocado as a kind of joke. Like I said, I will mainly speak about myself. So how I became a developer advocate in a development consulting company, ESN in French. So I will start by speaking about my childhood dreams. As far as I can remember, I always dreamed to be kind of a scientist, to solve difficult problems, the intellectual part of the work. And I also, at the same time, wanted to be kind of a comedian. But I found pretty quickly that I'll never be as funny as this kind of guy. It's Jimmy Carrey, if you didn't recognize him. So I had to find another way to do, to be on stage, transmit some joy and information, thoughts to people, and in the same time, kind of a scientific work. So when I became an adult, I started by being an IT teacher in an engineering school, and then I did more and more code, more and more development, and became a full-time developer. And I continue to be technical leader, lead developer, and then a technical director. So for the first part, it was really the kind of comedian work with a little scientific part. Developer, not really a comedian. Maybe some of you are some kind of comedian with their coworkers, but not on stage. And I found some kind of equality with comedian and etc. by being a tech leader, but I couldn't really manage to be really happy with this kind of job in this company. So I tried different things. I tried to be an architect, doing some teaching from time to time, etc. But my conclusion was that it was just the company and the job I had in this company wasn't working for me, so I resigned. And we are really lucky in our field as developers. We can resign before having any plans at all. It was my case, so I did not have any plans. I had to think about what I wanted to do as an adult. So I want to help people, I want to learn some new things every day, and want to share this with anybody in my work life and in my job. So my conclusion was that I needed a job that could, where I could share my time between some kind of diversified pure tech activity and helping the community. Because before I was doing these two things, but community help was essentially in my spare time. Okay, so I thought that there were a wall between these two jobs, and that I had to find kind of a work 50-50 of my time between these two activities. I struggled a little to find this kind of job. Didn't find the right company, the right job. And one day I met some people at Sphere, some great people, convinced me that it were a really great company and that I could do this kind of job in this company. So I joined the company. Yeah. I just forgot to say that when I received the final proposal from Sphere, there were just right on it, developer advocate. I already knew this kind of work, but somebody said to me, this is not the work you are looking for. Yeah? And because you have just the community part in it. And that's why I thought that there were a wall between these two activities. And being in a development consulting company as a developer advocate permits me to have these two activities. We really kind of help each other. And I will speak how we do that. So now you can think that developer advocacy is kind of helping developers to know your product. When you are like a developer advocate for Google, for example, there is Angular developer advocate, Google Cloud developer advocate, etc. But as a development consulting company, we don't have this kind of product. Our product is our developers' expertise, right? So we have, as a matter of fact, some principles in our company. This is these 5 principles. The first one, for the little anecdote, is the result of a vote by the employees when we asked what would be the word would better define sphere. They answered excellence. And this is the foundation of our developer advocacy program. I will explain it with my own example. As I'm strongly front-end oriented, for the technical part, the excellence part, I mainly advocate how to do good web apps, right? So I speak a lot about progressive web apps, how to use well Angular and RxJS, React, Vue, mainly Angular for me. And I also work a lot for developer experience, for example, with the Angular CLI, etc. And developer experience is a kind of link between this part of my job and the kindness part, right? When we defined what is a developer advocate as fair, we thought about we are not a product development advocate. We are advocating for developers, right? For developers' happiness. And for example, there is 2 subjects in this part. The first one I like to advocate is the work awareness. We are many, as developers, really passionate about our job, but we think that our daily job isn't enough. We are bored sometimes, or we think that we have to do some more things to have a good career. So we are really many to think that this part is kind of mandatory, the last part during our spare time, etc. But I'm making this as a joke because a lot of us think, yeah, it's great, we are passionate about our job, it's a great field, etc. But when you really look at it, there could be overwork. Some people could do that not because they like that, but because they think it's mandatory, right? This stay work, not a spare time activity, etc. So we have to, as developers, as any kind of people who is involved in development, to go from this to this, right? So we need to enhance the quality of our project, of the development environment. That's why I work a lot for developer experience. That's the tools, but not only. It's also how we do project, how we manage, how people interact, etc. So doing this is really important because that permits that developers get back their spare time, and if they not, a lot of people go to depression and sometimes burnout. So it's not a joke, it's really important. The other subject I want to speak about in that part is the isolated developers. I illustrate that here today with the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you don't know it, just look at this chart. It's pretty simple. When you gain knowledge in field, this is not, your confidence is not progressively growing. This is kind of a U-shape. And even if some of my co-workers, co-developer advocates say to me, you have to speak about the first part, the I know everything part. You all know this kind of people who don't know anything but things they do. The really important part isn't that, it's the I'm never going to understand this, because some developers are stuck here, okay? And because nobody told them that the better is yet to come, and everybody, every good developer has knew this, they gradually stop gaining knowledge because they have zero confidence. So we all have to see this kind of people when this happens, say them, okay, the better is yet to come, and I will help you to gain knowledge. Because again, this kind of people could have depression, burnout, yeah, bored out, and this is really not good for people. So from this to this again. How we do it now? So how we do advocacy as developer advocate in a development consulting company. As you may already understand, we have the two activities. We stay some kind of consultant, but we mainly have, our mission is mainly to help and contribute to the community. So as we don't have really a product, we do it for a wide range of cause, like I said, and each of us, as we have these two principles, freedom and responsibility, we are pretty free of what we can do because each of us prefers some things. For example, me, I love doing open source. It's not the case for every developer advocate at Sphere, okay? So we do talks like me today. We teach. We have Sphere School, which are free class for open to everyone. We write, for example, me, I didn't write yet on this new blog on Medium, CodeShake. And during consulting, we do some short-term and long-term consulting. Long-term consulting really permits us to be part of a team and see the problems I talked about earlier. Okay, we are really nourished by this activity, and it's not an obstacle. So we managed to do these two things. For example, when we help the community by responding to questions, we can do this to, for example, me, I do this via Twitter essentially, or after this talk, you can ask me questions for everyone. Inside our company, we respond to questions using Facebook Workplace, for example, and we also answer to questions from our commercial part, marketing part, etc. And doing this, we can all have a great activity by helping the community instead of just speaking of one product, even if speaking about one product is right. So you can check this out online. As a matter of fact, I was seeking to speak longer than that, but I'm right on 15 minutes, so you have time for questions. And so check this out. Sphere School, it's open to everyone and free again. Our GitHub organization for open source. We are building this now with our open source program office, our Medium, Sphere account on Twitter, Sphere Institute, which is the kind of commercial part of Sphere School, and follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, again, if you want to ask questions, have advice, etc. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Questions for Noel?
I understand why it would be great for you to become a developer advocate personally, and clearly it makes sense. But I'm not really sure why Sphere needs developer advocates.
So I'm okay. I see the question. I'm already a developer advocate. We are, as a matter of fact, 5, 6 developer advocates in this company, and we don't really need developer advocacy. It's a result of our ethics, right? So the thought behind that is that I suppose, even if I kind of know, with the freedom and responsibility part of our ethics, we from a long time since a long time, you know, permit to people to do talks, etc. Right? So, like it was said earlier, all the company, all the developers who want that can do talks, have time for that, etc. But developer advocates have special time for that. This is their main mission. And why we do this? Because we think that without any kind of numbers, etc., we will see the results. People will understand that Sphere is a great company, that's okay. And by making being a developer better, we will permit to grow in that field, right? By making our field greater, we will be greater. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other question? No?
Any other questions?
If you are too shy, you can ask me question later.
Yes. Oh, okay, wait.
My company now do mainly proof of concepts and stuff. We mostly deliver really quickly projects to some other people. Do you think at some point we could use some developer advocates or not?
Yeah, right. I don't think you need to have something, as a matter of fact, for us to advocate. Okay, you have to have something you want to stand for. Okay, so I think that any company, if it's possible in this company, can use developer advocates because, like I said, I think it's the wrong vision to think that we only have to grow our company because we have concurrency with others. Okay, it's better to think about our field to grow, being a developer, being better, and we thinking with that in mind. Every company can use some developer advocate. Sorry.
You
Yeah.
had a question?
Hi there, thanks for the talk. I see that
Welcome.
you have a school, which I mentioned, some online education. I'm curious what the role of developer relations or developer advocacy, which is say your role, is in that particular.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we don't have a school, right? We have two programs. It's Developer Academy is more for like a school, right? People inside who do some learning from a long-time perspective. But Sphere School is 1 day, 2 day, 3 day class, okay? Open to everyone. So as developer advocates, a lot of us are teaching, but not only developer advocates are teaching. And it permits to see really how we can enhance to transmit knowledge. Okay, so we transmit knowledge. It's one of our main mission to permit for people to be better as a job, right? But it's also give us a feedback about how to enhance in our daily activity, right after that, when we will talk, how we can be better at transmitting information and knowledge. Right? To answer the question? Yeah? Thank you.
Okay. Another question?
Thank you. You mentioned part of what you're doing is writing open source. How do you pick which project to work on? Is that internal project you need that's fair, that you actually open source, or is that contributing to existing project like Angular?
Okay, so I will not speak about this a lot because you have to ask this question to Wasim Shogam, who is now our head of open source program office. This is really new, so I will not speak instead of him. But for myself, for developer advocates, for now, it's really open, like I said. For me, for example, I will make a workshop at Angular Connect about Angular CLI because I am a contributor to Angular CLI and I love to contribute to that. Maybe in the future, some of us will create some new product and we will advocate our open source product. I don't know. For now, it's really everyone's responsibility. What you want to do and how can that nourish your tools, your teaching, etc. Okay.
Other questions?
Like I said, it's okay to be shy. Okay.
So to me, what you're doing is developer advocacy at Sphere is mostly for branding, for awareness of the brand for Sphere. And are you working with marketing, or or do they have any impact on what you do?
Okay. As a matter of fact, our desks are right to the marketing, but we don't really work with them. We have, when we want to ask, for example, to tell people we are doing this fair school, we are doing this talk, etc., they work for that, but we don't do marketing and we don't have the same mission they have. Even if I have a Sphere shirt today, sorry, that happened. So even if I have this shirt today, we don't have permission to speak about Sphere. I speak only now about what we do as developer advocates, because more people know Sphere School or open source organization, etc., more we will have an impact. But our mission is not at all to make Sphere looks better to anyone. It's the marketing mission. We also have recruiters, which we say they are talent advocate, yeah? And they have the mission to give to people to make people want to be in Sphere, right? So this is not our mission. So, like I said, the only mission we have, and I don't have a polite word for that. It's not beep words. We really think that, and we want to make being a developer great. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have to stop now, but again, if you can stay after and ask more questions, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so one more round of applause for Noel.
Thank you.
And last quick announcement from me. So there is, I believe, coffee back there if you have time to stay and you'd like to have a coffee and chat. And also the next Tech Lunch will be in 6 weeks, and it'll be about remote work, if that's interesting. Okay? So have a good day. Bye-bye.